Another common tree that you're probably going to be running into in your forest land is black cherry, very commonly called wild cherry. So if you have called something a wild cherry, it's probably this tree that we call black cherry. It has got a really skinny twig. Of all the trees we've been discussing concerning crop tree release, this is the skinniest twig of all, tiniest buds of all, and it has leaves that are alternating, and if you look really close at it, it has very fine teeth, very fine serrations, like one of those plastic butter knives, that you get with your meal kits. Very fine. Its bark helps it to be very easily identifiable. Early on, it's very smooth, but it then fairly quickly breaks up into big chunks, which in time become about the size of a Frito or a cornflake, and they're very dark gray when they get there. We actually call it the burnt cornflake bark. They get all over that. Right here we've got like potato chips, but they will get smaller and smaller in size. So here's a pretty darn good black cherry, particularly for this part of the state of Virginia. It grows a lot better at higher elevations as you get into West Virginia and up through western Pennsylvania and into New York State. That's where some of your biggest black cherries are. But this is a pretty nice tree, and it's when it gets this old, it's famous kind of for its bark. It gets very flaky pieces. We actually tell students that it looks like burnt cornflakes glued all over the trunk of the tree. So it's kind of famous for that. It can be a little confusing because when it's smaller, the bark will be completely smooth, and that can mess people up a little bit. So black cherry's one you might, if you're fortunate enough to have a good one, it's one you might want to consider for a crop tree release if you find one of those. So large one, look for the dark gray burnt cornflake bark on it. Another tree that sometimes is mixed with it is right behind us here, or in front of me I should say, and that's sweet cherry, which actually is not native, and that surprises people because it's been in the United States for centuries. Europeans brought it over, so it's sort of just become part of the woodlands now. But its bark stays smooth and has these horizontal lines across it, whereas the black cherry gets the burnt cornflake bark. And black cherry is the valuable tree. Sweet cherry, other than its fruit, is not that valuable for lumber. A good wildlife tree, I suppose.